All right, so let's take a look at ES and NQ coming into market open. As you can see here, so right now I have the 1 hour chart, and it's been a pretty consistent sell-off for this whole week. But we have come down and taken this low and this low. And if we look at NQ, this is on the 1 hour chart. And on NQ, we have a bit of an SMT here on the higher time frame, but we've taken out quite a bit of liquidity. And NQ has dug into the weekly fair value gap, which I think a lot of people wanted to see get hit. So let's just concentrate on ES for the minute. So as you can see, this is the 9 a.m. candle close coming into market open, and we had this massive candle because we got news in pre-market regarding, I don't know, the Treasury are going to be buying back debt or something along those lines. I don't really care about the news. I'm just looking for the news to print a candle on the chart, and I'm going to react off that candle. So with that said, here on the 1 hour chart, as you can see on ES, this is the 1 hour print, on NQ, this is the 1 hour print. So at this point in time, when I'm going into market open, what I want to see is price to come back inside this fair value gap, and we'll just see how we react. You know, if we close right through it, that'd be pretty bearish, and maybe you can target some of these fair value gaps. If we find support here, what I'll be targeting is this fair value gap, which is also a 4 hour fair value gap, and it's prior day's high. So really that's my target. As you can see, I had all that marked in here. So here's prior day's high, and that's what I'm looking for. So as you can see now, the indexes were very divergent. So this is that 1 hour candle on ES. So we did come back into it, which I wanted to see, but if we look over at NQ, we totally inverted this candle and came all the way down to take these relative equal lows on Asia. So I still wasn't overly bearish, just because we weren't seeing any sort of like that level of follow through in ES. So what I said to myself, I'm just going to be very patient, and really what I want to see is we had right here 5 minute fair value gap, 5 minute, and this is the most displaced 5 minute inversion fair value gap we got here. So for me to get interested, I kind of need to see a 5 minute candle with momentum start to close through these, and then I can look to take, as I showed you in the higher time frame previously, prior day's low. So as you can see here, so this is what I had marked out. It's a little messy, but this gray shaded area is the 15 minute fair value gap that we left, and these are the areas I'm looking for. So there's that first 5 minute, there's that first 5 minute, and there's the most displaced gap in the morning. So that's not enough. Still not enough for me to get interested. Now I'm getting a little bit more interested as we come up to these gaps. Bang. So now I'm interested. We close through 1, 2, 3. So at this point, I set a limit order here, just looking, because I knew if we left with this sort of momentum, I leave this up to my discretion. Once I get this is basically the green light for me to enter the trade. So when I see this level of displacement, I can either now do one of two things: set a limit order somewhere down here, look to get tagged, and the momentum to carry me up to my intended target, which typically I've got marked down pre-market, or I can go down to the 1 minute, wait for an entry down here, and look for further confirmation on the 1 minute. Given the level of momentum we had here, I was fine getting tagged in here, thinking we might come down and with this inversion 5 minute fair value gap and go to target. As you can see here, we came right down, so I'm now in the trade. And there you go. So you could have waited for this. So I'm currently in drawdown, and bang, not for long. I'm right to target. And while I did have prior day's high up here as a further target, just given the way price action's been and the lack of news this week, plus we had Trump speaking today and Fed minutes in the afternoon, you're not, even with the positive news we had pre-market, I'm not looking to hold. So you got to know what market regime you're in. Right now, we're not in a massively upward expanding. We're not showing massive intent to the upside. You can see that in NQ. Look how lagging it is. If NQ is showing that same aggressiveness as ES this morning, and didn't totally fall off once we open market open, that shows me there's not a lot of intent behind price. So I'm not going to swing for the fences. I'm quite happy taking a 1.3R trade here. And if you look here, so we came right to target, as you can see, we started to reverse. And what would have happened if I had gone for a higher target or gone to break? My break even would have been hit, and eventually my stop would have been hit. So this really was the trade of the day. And just to show you how you could have taken this. So as I said, I took the choice to do just to get tagged in. But if I went to the 1 minute, let me show you what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for a retrace. Okay, there's the retrace, and now what I'd really be looking for is for this 1 minute, this 1 minute fair value gap to get violated. So there, you could enter this. This is another trade opportunity to take this trade. So you could go long, put your stop order here, a little tighter. You actually almost get a better risk reward. This is actually a less risky trade. You're getting that extra layer of confirmation. So yeah, either's fine. Really, I'm trying to get better at using the 1 minute like this, because typically you can get better risk reward and you get an extra layer of confirmation. But either way works. But it's great. So that's 3 for 3. That's 3 wins in a row, which is funny because the weeks prior I've been on like a pretty heavy losing streak, be it I've really managed my losses, so it hasn't hit my P&L that hard. And now with 3 wins, I'm almost back to like pretty much break even after a couple of weeks of poor trading. And all it's going to take was 1 or 2 more decent trades, and I'll be profitable for probably the whole summer. And that's just how trading goes. You know, you really got to manage your risk and drawdown. Don't tilt. Know when to take risk off the table. Know when to look for higher R multiples, lower R multiples. That all just comes with time in the game.